Do you know how much time you're spending daily, weekly on client communications? Would it stun you if I told you that, according to numerous sources, it's 2 to 3 hours per day between you and your paralegal? With many attorneys, it's mostly them who are doing all of those communications, answering clients' inquiries, concerns, text messages, phone calls, emails, all of those things, 2 to 3 hours per day. What if all that waste, and I'm not saying it's bad, right? Like you need to communicate with your clients. Obviously, by the way, my guest, you're going to find out from him, they did a study and they found that 44% of all poor reviews for lawyers and law firms online were about poor communications. Not poor outcomes, poor communications. What if you could automate most of those communications? What if you could claw back 2 hours per day? What if you could save 8 hours per week on communications? Would you be able to take 3 days off every weekend? How amazing would that be? Manny Griffiths, the founder of Hona, built, or his team built a tool that does exactly that for lawyers and law firm owners. Check it out. It is such a huge profitability booster, such a huge cost cutter. It's so beautiful and eloquent. You gotta listen to what they've built and why so many law firms have signed on with them and love how much savings and how much profitability this thing delivers. Enjoy the show. Google's ability to attract new clients is declining as more people are using ChatGPT. On October 9th, I'm going to do complimentary training where I will show you whether ChatGPT, Gemini, and Perplexity actually recommend your law firm. I will also give you a roadmap to either promote or defend you if you already have solid positions. Sign up for the webinar. The link is down below. Welcome to another podcast episode of Grow Law. I have an awesome guest with me here today, Manny Griffith of Hona, which, by the way, I am rarely super excited introducing someone because of the product that they built, but I am beyond psyched about what you have built. And I'm going to make a little intro before I start asking you questions about how you came up with the idea, which is a fascinating story in its own. So, ladies and gentlemen, imagine that you could work 4 days a week and take zero pay cut. Like, Hona can unburden you to the point where 8 hours a day will be saved on communications that you otherwise have to do. And this is how traditionally law firms have done it. Lawyers and or their paralegals communicate with clients day to day, providing updates, sending out meaningful communications, collecting data, all of those things. Imagine that most of it can be completely automated with a human touch. It will feel absolutely like a human is doing it, but it would be done for you at a tiny cost, and you could take, literally, you could take 3-day weekends just about every week without anything happening to your income or to your law firm just because you automate all of this communication. By the way, let me put a little layer on top of that. My partner and I, and so many other successful business owners, like people managing like 5, 10, 15, $20 million law firms and marketing companies such as ours, we're huge proponents of taking massive amount of time off. And the reason for that is the more time off you take, the more productive you become because you unburden your mind from all the minutiae that you have to do. So there's a theory that you should be taking half a year off. It sounds nuts, but it's not. Manny, I'm sorry I'm making this super long introduction, but like this is so important. So out of 180 days that we suggest taking off, 104 is automatically built in. Those are your weekends. 52 weeks times 2 days, 104 days. Your holidays, another 10 days, 114 days. Your vacation, another 10 days, 124 days. Now you have a gap of 56 days that I advocate to take to unburden your mind so that your mind can reset very, very often and become more productive. Like, how do you find those 56 days? Well, Hona, by removing all of that very useful but not practical communication because it can automate it for you, is going to help you find way more than 50 days, 56 days per year, unburdening your calendar, giving you more time with your family, and also giving your mind more time to reset and come up with better solutions. Super long intro. Manny, welcome to the show.
Hey, happy to be here. Excited to talk about this. I want that. I want 3-day weekends. It's a little bit of a controversial topic because I think lawyers in particular love work and they're like, I don't want to have Fridays off. I don't want to, but what you just said, is like you're actually going to be better. You'll have better results. That's fascinating. That's a fun one to talk about.
100%. There is a book by Dan Sullivan. I forget the title of it. It's on one of my bookcases. I forget exactly where, but he talks specifically about the more time you take off, the more productive and more successful you become. It's incredibly counterintuitive. I had Mark Powers of Atticus Advantage, which is a very large, very successful consulting group and coaching group for attorneys, on this podcast about 2 months ago. And we talked specifically about that concept in depth. Like the more time you take off, the more money you're going to make, as counterintuitive as it may be.
It's crazy, but it's definitely a theme. Like Tim Ferriss had that 4 Hour Work Week
Yep.
book come out, and like it's all this is like starting to come out, and I believe in it. Like I really do. I think when I'm off, like I get better ideas. Like I'm a better visionary when I take more time off. Like, and that's what you should be if you're running a business, is like you should also be getting in the nitty gritty, getting into the ground floor, but you have to set the vision. And so like I notice it for myself. Like when I'm on a beach reading a book, I get better ideas and
Yes.
better high level vision for the business. So I believe in it.
100%. There's a caveat that should be applied there. So specialists working in your law firm, specialists working in your business, you should not be promoting that idea to them.
Yeah.
It is for the executives who are responsible for making bigger decisions, not doing the day-to-day things. It's very, very different. If you are the practicing attorney of your law firm, you are the solo. Sorry, this doesn't apply. Like you cannot, pardon my French, unfuck yourself because of the situation that you put yourself into. It's a really, really hard thing to do. Like you are it. You're the breadwinner for the business, for your family, for everything, right? But if you're operating a business and you actually have employees, like you should be taking more time off because it will help your mind to be more productive. You will see the solutions that you otherwise do not see. One of the examples that I use, sometimes a vendor will come to you and pitch you an idea that will help you increase your revenue, help you cut your costs, or both, and thus increase your profitability. But you just don't have the time to really think about it, to really process it. By taking more time off, you will see those solutions and you will be able to get the right people to implement those solutions for you, thus making more money for yourself, for your family, and for your employees. It's a super important concept. By the way, my partner and I are absolutely living proof. The more time we take off, the more money we make for ourselves and for our employees. It's wild.
Americans need to learn this. Like, I don't know if the European way is the solution. Like, take all of August off. Like, I think it's more like here and there, like in between, and, you know, taking half days and Fridays but like to think that the paradox is real, that you will actually do better, will motivate more people to do it. So,
100%. But again, like it doesn't apply to specialists who are working in your law firm. The doers and the thinkers are very different. Like this does not apply to the doers for that very simple reason. Things need to get done. But if your doing is the thinking, if it's your job to think for the business, that's where it should be almost mandatory to take that time off. Because if you don't have the time to think because you're always doing.
100%. And my business is different than a law firm. Obviously, I run a SaaS company, software company, but I think about, we have this role at the firm called BDR, business development rep. They're supposed to make 50 or 60 calls a day, send 100 emails a day. If they're not doing that, the growth dramatically slows. They have to be, have to be working and putting in 8-9 hours a day. Like there's certain roles I'm thinking about here. I'm like, you could never do that. I could never encourage that.
Yeah.
But for me, I see it.
Yeah, 100%. All right, so let's talk about Hona. First of all, how did you come up with the concept, like this whole idea of building a communication tool that actually does communicating on steroids for you, for a lawyer, for paralegal?
Yeah, I mean, I was mentioned to you earlier, it was easy for me because I was working for a legal tech company and clients described the product to me. It was like, I need this. They said, I need a Domino's pizza tracker for my cases. And I'm like, okay, tell me why. We just get bogged down with client calls, asking for status updates. I can't get my work done. I can't write demand letters. I can't talk to insurance adjusters. I got to have some of this freed up because I'm spending 3 hours a day on the phone and just managing these client expectations for updates or calls or education on their case. So it was really pretty easy. Like they described to me and I was like, okay, like let's go do this.
Yeah. But by the way, I assume that those communications are incredibly disruptive. Like during the day when the phone rings or when you get a text message or when there's another email pop-up notification, which you shouldn't be getting pop-up notifications, but most of you, I know, you do, right? They
Yeah.
disrupt your day, they disrupt your flow, and it takes a while to get back to the stage where you were before. By the way, what's a Domino's tracker?
Well,
I don't order pizza. I assume it's something that tracks where the pizza is.
it's funny. It's like this revolutionary technology, like 10 years ago, Domino's, a lot of 15 years ago, you'd think like you'd call and you'd order a pizza and you'd be like, when's it going to get here? And you're kind of anxious. You're watching the game. It just started. Domino's was like, we're going to do away with that anxiety. And so it was this technology that on a website, it will show you the progress and when your pizza is going to show up. And it was crazy. Their stock went through the roof implementing this technology. Turns out it's actually fake. They don't use any sensors or anything. It's all based on time. We learned that a couple of years ago on Twitter. but it was just this concept like consumers want to know where things are. They get anxious.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're going to put in a technology so that they're not anxious anymore.
And they're probably a lot more anxious about the status of their case than they are about the status of their pizza.
Right. I mean, it's one of the most stressful and emotional times of someone's life, typically, whether it's personal injury or bankruptcy or criminal defense, like these are life defining moments where people get emotional. And so to have that comfort of just knowing what's happening, like how it works. Like, I don't even know, I couldn't tell you, I bought several houses. I couldn't tell you step by step how it works. So to know for a case where it's super emotional and you're really invested makes so much sense.
How does this actually work? And how much input do lawyers and their paralegals actually have to do into Hona in order for Hona to do what it's supposed to do?
Yeah. So my whole thing is like I learned from I've been in legal tech for like 9 years now. And one of the things I learned is you don't want to change, like you want paralegals, case managers, attorneys to be in their case management software all day getting things done. They don't need to switch and have to go to another application to make something work. So what we did is we really tightly knit our tool with their case management software. So we have 13 integrations. And when someone signs up for Hona, we like tie it into how they run cases. So if you have this process where you complete this task in your case manager, or you switch the stage of the case from stage 2 to stage 3, it will be triggering workflows that communicate to your client. Once you hit this stage, I'm going to send this pain journal questionnaire for them to fill out. So we tightly knit with the case management software, which automates this communication.
So it's completely directed by the case management system.
Yeah. And we can get our integrations are so good. Like we can really get into how people typically work already. So it's not much. They're not really changing their day to day and Hona starts running. And what that looks like from a client's perspective is they're either getting a text message with a link or a push notification to an app where they're doing these interactions to their law firm. And it's super easy for the consumer or the client of the firm.
Do they have to download an app or is it all just browser based, like a website?
That's a great question. It can be totally browser based, which is by and large how people use our product. People kind of hate apps these days. They're like, I don't have storage on my phone. I'm going to delete this later. So people
I can't find the app because I have 150 of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Or my phone, mine, if I don't use it for a little bit, it offloads it.
Mm-mm.
And so it has to re-download if I want to use an app. Yeah, so they can click a link and we use this proprietary, well, it's not only proprietary to us, but it's unique to us, called Magic Links. DocuSign uses this. So it actually verifies the user by their device. So they don't have to log in. They click the link and it goes in, and it's this personalized web page for them. And it says, hey, John, here's your case. You're in step 2 of 6. And here's a video of what we're doing in the background. And here's your frequently asked questions. So like they have this really cool experience. Like they get into this web browser and they're like, this is everything I need to know. Like I'm learning, I know how to a PI case works or whatever type of case it is.
Awesome. So all of the repetitive communications are done. All of the updates are automated. What else does it leave lawyers and their paralegals to do?
I think it's like follow up and little interactions that like they don't build any. So an example, we have the full calendaring system that's built into Hona. So if you have a deposition and you would put it in to your case management software or into Hona, it's going to automatically send text reminders. And you would set this up, but 3 days before, 1 day before, 2 hours before, giving them directions of where they need to show up, a video of how they can prep for their depot. So previously, you would be calling them, buzzing them all the time, trying to remind them, maybe getting a hold of them, sending emails, where now you don't even think about it. It's like, oh, I put the deposition in Hona, all this is done. Another thing is like a questionnaire or forms. Like you need X information from your client. You would send this questionnaire via Hona, and if they don't fill it out, the client will get these texts that are like, hey, this is your law firm. We can't move forward with your case until you fill this out. Say they didn't do that. Next day, get a text. Hey, this is pretty important. It just takes 30 seconds. Would you mind filling this form out? Click the link here. And so it's all this like redundant follow-up and phone calls, education, all this stuff that's just being done by Hona.
I love this so much for more than one reason. One of them, obviously, you and I talked before we hit the record button, that on average, an attorney or whoever is responsible for communication spends 2 to 3 hours per day, every day on this type of communications. But the other side to it is that you have to remember to actually put out those communications. And that's a serious cognitive load. You need to remember to text them, to email them, to call them, which if technology can do it, it's such a bullshit to continue doing it the manual way. Because it's really, really taxing. It's not just the hours that you spend actually doing this. It's the hours, the ungodly amount of hours that you're keeping it in your head or on a post-it note or some sort of a reminder system that you actually need to follow up with Peter and with John and with this guy and with that guy. It's crazy.
Totally. Well, I love that you're making that point that you need to remember to do it, because if you don't, you will be penalized heavily. Like 44%, and we did a study on this where we looked at hundreds of firms' Google reviews and picked them out one by one. And we showed that 44% of negative Google reviews are regarding poor client communication. So if you don't remember, people actually get pissed and they are willing to write you a bad review. Or like when their friend needs a lawyer, they're not going to recommend you. So like you have to remember, like client expectations are at an all-time high. They expect really prompt communication, clear communication. And so if you don't, you're penalized. So it's true. Like you have to remember, why not save yourself that burden and use it?
Well, and none of us are perfect in professional services. You know,
Right.
I've been in professional services for a couple of decades, more than like 25 years. Like no one is perfect. There is not a company that's absolutely perfect. This is not mass production where we're building like million widgets and they're exactly the same. Defects are going to happen in every process in every organization, but technology can streamline it for you and it will be perfect because it does this for you, which is just remarkable unburdening of like day-to-day stuff. I love it. So you can clearly cut your hours, or if you're so inclined, if you're just an operator, business owner, operator, and you do not actually practice law, you can increase your capacity, meaning do more cases without hiring more staff, because now you're cutting significant workload from your staff. So if your lawyers are responsible for those communications and you cut the need to do those communications by 8 hours a week. Well, that's 20% of their weekly capacity. So instead of hiring the fifth lawyer, you can just keep on doing the same thing as you did with four lawyers because it's automated. Same thing with paralegals or any kind of mix of it. Plus the cognitive unburdening because you no longer need to remember all of those things. So it helps you A, cut your costs, B, increase your revenue without increasing your costs, and C, ultimately, in either one of those benefits, you're going to increase your profitability, which is ultimately like what you'd want from any and every solution that you buy for your business. Cut your cost, increase your revenue, and improve your profitability, which is, it sounds like Hona does exactly that.
I mean, you're a business guy. You're teaching firms how to do that. I love how you're thinking about that.
You want to hire me for the head of sales position?
I could use you. Like, but seriously, I think that's a metric that firms should track is like cases per attorney,
It's big.
cases per case manager. And like, that's what a lot of firms, a lot of our clients attribute, up to 50% growth in cases, caseload per case manager.
Yeah.
Because it's profitability. Like that's how you're going to make more money. We do it with our business too. Like we look at one of our the way we track revenue is in recurring revenue. So ARR is our big like North Star metric as a business.
Sure.
How much annual recurring revenue. We look at ARR per head count. And it's a huge metric in the software industry where it's like, how much if and as technology gets better, that number keeps growing. It's crazy. It used to be like $50,000 ARR per attorney now, or per head. Now SaaS companies are doing like $1 million per head. The most hyper efficient. And so like it's something that you should track, and Hona really do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And on this subject, like if you're operating your law firm, I assume that most people who listen to this podcast or watch these recordings are law firm owners. Like you must think about profitability of the law firm from the standpoint of like, what does it cost for us to deliver the service? For vast majority of law firms, and I've interviewed a ton of law firm owners, it's around 50%. Your payroll that's actually working on the cases is about 50% of your total revenue. So you as a business owner, if you take off the I'm a lawyer hat and put on a business owner hat, like one of your goals should be to decrease your cost of service without decreasing quality of service, because then your company, your business becomes more profitable. And if one day you have to retire, and this subject is very deep and near to my heart, because one day we're all going to retire either by design or by default. And by design is a lot more profitable than by default. And you can retire by default by building a profitable business that somebody actually wants to buy. And if your profit margin is 50%, it's worth X. But if it's 40%, if you deliver service at 10% lower cost, it's going to be Y. Like your business is going to be a lot more profitable and thus a lot more valuable to whoever is going to buy it. And by the way, the market for law firms is growing. Like every year, there are more and more lawyers who recognize that they would much rather buy another law firm than try to increase their revenue by 100% or 50% or 200%. It's that much easier. So more of you, if you're 10, 15, 20 years out of 65, 70, whatever is the age when you're going to retire, you have that opportunity to build a lot of value. But for that, you have to be very efficient. And Hona is one of the ways to really become a lot more efficient. So I love the solution.
It feels like, and I might be off here, but it feels like the selling law firm market is like 10 or 20 years behind what dentists were doing.
100%.
Like, because every dentist sells their practice at the end of their career and gets, 2x revenue, whatever it is. But like, and retires on that. And it's an awesome thing for a lot of dentists. And it feels like it's becoming that way for law firms. And I love it. It's going to help.
Not by a long shot, not yet. They're super behind.
Yeah, it might be more behind than I realized, but I love that it's going that way.
So after I sold my first business, which was 15 years ago, I've consulted and also some of my clients were dentists. And in 2010, selling a dental practice was like this. Getting financing for that sale was like this. Like all you
Hmm.
had to do was just show your income statement or P&L and your balance sheet for like the last 3 years. And there were banks that would line up and finance up to 100% of the purchase.
Hmm.
Today, selling a law firm is not easy. It's still not easy.
Interesting.
It's a lot easier than it was 15 years ago because I also consulted lawyers back then, but it is still not that easy. Why? Because there's that key man risk. It's one of those things. Second thing is like key man risk, meaning like you're in charge, and if you leave tomorrow, it's going to collapse. Like
Hmm.
you built the superstar model where you are the owner operator, you are the rainmaker, you're almost everything to this business. And the moment you leave, it all starts caving in. So
Yeah.
buying law firms is a bit trickier. With dental practices, fun fact, 25% of the patient base is going to leave because a new person buys it. It's very, very, very typical. So they know and they build it in. And I don't know what the valuation model is as of lately for dental practices, but it used to be 1 year of revenue. Not 2 years,
Okay.
but 1 year of revenue.
That
For
makes
law
sense.
firms, it's very valuable to know. If your EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization, meaning like your pure profit, if you had no
Yeah.
loans, no taxes, nothing, didn't depreciate any assets, which you really don't have any assets to depreciate other than your computers, desks, whatever else you may be buying for the business. If you're generating less than 2% in pure profit pre-tax, you're going to get 3 times your profit. And that's what you're going to, like somebody is going to like, okay, so I'll buy this. It will take me about 4.5 years to get my money back because it will take you 4.5 years of getting that profit to pay yourself back for whatever it is that you spend on buying your business. And if it's
Yeah.
2 million or above, there you'll probably get 5x, five
Hmm.
times whatever your profit is. So if you build this really simple formula that I've taught a lot of lawyers, if you build a $10 million law firm, meaning you generate $10 million in revenue, and for those of you who may be practicing and they have like 500,000 or $1 million in revenue, it sounds like an astonishing number. It's not. It's very possible. There are many who have come before you who built that size law firms. And there are those of your peers who are building those law firms today. It's very possible in any sizable market. Like you can't do it in a remote village in Idaho. Very, very hard, near impossible. But if you're in South Florida where I am, if you're in Salt Lake City or somewhere in Utah, right?
Yep. Salt Lake City.
Love Utah, love Utah. So in any other major metro area, it's not easy, but it's very doable to build a $10 million law firm. Why $10 million law firm? If you operate it well and you have like 40% cost of service, you're going to spend another 40% on client acquisition, meaning marketing and intake, and another 10% or so, maybe 15% on other fixed expenses. You're going to operate at 20% net profit. So $10 million in revenue results in $2 million payday every year for you, the owner, minus the taxes. $2 million profit at the year's end equals 5x on a buyout. You can sell your law firm for 10 million bucks. 10 million bucks is like walk away money. You walk away, unless you go and buy a mega yacht, you never have to work another day in your life.
Oh yeah. 10. Oh man. So that formula should be the goal for so many of your clients. I'm assuming like that's crazy, and it feels doable.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Here's how
Yeah. You
doable.
know what I think is
Yeah.
accelerating, and like I think dental practices, and I don't know how we got on this, but I enjoy this topic.
Because
Like,
I like to compare dentists to lawyers. Like, so when you brought up dentists, because it takes similar amount of acumen, like you have to be smart enough to be a
yeah.
dentist, just as smart to be a lawyer, and vice versa.
Well, that's funny that I brought that up.
Mm,
The tech, like they had really good processes. It was like a repeatable motion,
yep.
business motion. And I feel like because lawyers were behind on technology, they didn't have that motion in place. But now it's getting there where like you use a solid case management software with a Hona and you've got good employees, then like the motion's there. It's really repeatable. Um, so it feels like it's going to get there. I think I really am optimistic that it'll look a lot like that the dental industry in the next few years.
It almost has to, because if your law firm doesn't look like that 5, 10 years from now, and your competitors' law firms do look like that, things are
Yeah.
going to get really difficult. Why? Because as your competitors optimize their costs, which Hona is one of the ways to optimize your operating costs, specifically your cost of service, and you don't. So let's say that you continue to operate at 50% margin, meaning 50% of your revenue is spent on delivering the service, and your competitors trim it down to 40%, and they're getting same level reviews as you do at 50%, but they do it at 40%. That extra 10% in revenue is going to free up this much cash for them to go and get more clients that you're going to be unable to do. And that's like a flywheel. The more money they invest into client getting, the bigger they become. And that piece of pie, it's not infinite. It's a zero-sum game. There are only so many clients in every marketplace. So if they're getting them because they have extra money to get them, and you're not getting them, they keep getting bigger, and you at some point actually will start shrinking under the weight of better competitors just because they took the time to implement technology. And by the way, I know firsthand, implementing any technology, even the simplest to use, is still a little bit of a burden. But it's kind of like lifting weights. I work out. I don't love it, but I know that if I don't work out, I'm going to become weak, and my bones at some point are going to become brittle. So it's a necessary pain. So it's like with implementing any technology. Like, do I want to implement technology? I'm the operator. I want to implement technology because I don't actually do it with my own hands. I have people who do those things. But back in the day when the company was much smaller and I implemented a lot of things myself, it was a pain, but it's a necessary pain because otherwise they get bigger, you get smaller. Their paychecks get bigger, yours get smaller. Complacency kills. It really does on the battlefield and in the business battlefield. It really does.
Absolutely.
Man, we've been on the roll, just absolutely on the roll. I know that Hona does a lot of other things, but might be running a little short on time. Tell me like how else, like if I was a law firm owner, for our audience, like how else can it benefit them? Because I know there are a few solutions that are built into it.
Yeah. I mean, we have our core product, which is kind of what I've been talking about today, but one that we've released recently that is gaining a lot of traction is our leads product. And it's essentially a tool that sits on your website and it really engages clients by using video content and audio content to pull them in and have them put in their information. It interacts with them. And then what's cool is when they submit their information, they actually get access to like a Hona portal, but for the sign up process. So usually Hona's used during the case process. It's like, hey, here's your six steps of a PI process. But when they put in their information on the lead on your website chatbot, they'll actually get a similar tool, but it says, hey, this is a 3-step sign up process. Step 1 is you put in your information. Step 2 is we're going to qualify you. Step 3 is we'll send you an e-signature document. And step 4 is your welcome call. So they're actually like, oh, and they have all this information on the firm. It's like, here's your attorney. His name's Joe. He has 4 kids and likes to play golf. And so they actually feel really like a personal connection to the firm. So this is kind of a cool new product where it's like, if you're looking to increase conversion rates, Hona's doing that. It's a newer product of ours, but it's really working. So kind of a cool solution for firms that are like amping up intake. I think there's been kind of a progression of legal intake over the past few years. The first iteration was like, can you text your clients right away? And like that helped people increase rates. The next one was like, can you send e-signatures and get them to sign really quickly? We feel like the next iteration is like, can they have access to this portal and get to know the firm and see videos and FAQs and content? Like that's the next iteration of intake, and it's going to be really increase conversion rates for these firms.
100%. I'm not sure how Hona works there, but when somebody goes to the website where Hona is already plugged in, does Hona start interacting with them before they fill out a form? As they're filling out the form? Once they fill out the form? Like what's the process there?
So it's like the bot in the bottom. I hate calling it a bot, but the intake tool in the bottom corner that pops up, like you have one on your website. It's that, but it's Hona and it's kind of slick. So they'll interact with that and they can click on that and fill out a form, put in their information, talk to someone. Got it. Essentially.
Yeah. So 10, 12, 15% or so of people who will convert through that tool, or is it a higher percentage, if you know?
It depends on the firm. Like,
Mhm.
I think, 70% of people coming into a law firm are calling in. The other 30% are 20 to 30% are
Through
going
the
to
website.
interact with the website in
Yeah.
some sense. And so, and of those who interact with your website, it's probably half.
Mhm.
So, 10-ish% of your
Yeah.
incoming intakes will come in through a tool like that.
Yeah. That makes sense. By the way, intake is such a game changer for success of your law firm. So every way that your prospective clients are entering into your law firm, be it through your phone, through the contact us form, or through the chat bot, however we want to call it now, there has to be like you have to optimize the shit out of the thing.
Yes,
And
it's crazy.
if you don't, you could be leaving like insane amount of money on the table.
Yeah, and this is your thing. Like,
It's
you're
my
all
thing.
about.
Yeah.
I've seen your content.
Yeah.
But yeah, we should talk about this offline because
Yeah.
it's a cool solution for your firms.
Cool. Manny, this was a lot of fun. Congrats on coming up with, and I know that your startup, it's not a startup anymore. It's very well funded, so you have serious backers behind it, which is amazing. So, which is another validation of how good of a tool your team has built. It's really tremendous. Someone, actually, everyone who is listening or watching this podcast episode or reading the notes should be going to your website, hona.com, HONA, checking it out. What's the best way to start the journey once you're on the website? Like interact with the website. Who should they talk to? Maybe schedule a demo. Like what's the best path?
Scheduling a demo is the best way. We're really, you can go schedule a demo. It'll pop up a calendar, so you select a time that works for you. That's the best way, and you'll get someone will do it custom. We'll put your logo in, make it look like how it would look for your firm. So that's what I'd suggest.
Cool, amazing. Last question. If you already know, I know you've been in business for a couple of years, but maybe it's too early. For a typical client, and I don't know what typical client looks like to you size-wise, what's the ROI on this solution? If you have actually like taken the time to calculate it.
Yeah, we measure results in two ways, like increase of caseload per case manager, like I mentioned earlier,
Hmm?
or time savings. And so, like, it depends on the firm's economics, but I would say you can handle 20 to 50% more cases per attorney or uh, case manager, which if your average case, if your average case settles at $3,000 or $10,000, you can run the math on that
Yeah.
yourself. And then the time savings are pretty easy to come up with too. But like, you're saving an hour a day where you're not making as many outbound calls or getting as many, or your time on phone is dramatically reduced because they have so much context as to what's going on in their case. So that's how I would look at this if you're a firm thinking about Hona.
Awesome. Hona.com, Manny Griffiths. Thank you so much for being part of the show and for building this tool. I would be super excited if you built something like this for my industry because this would be super useful. Think about it. I think it would be easy to adapt it to other industries.
I like it.
Seriously,
Maybe,
think about it.
yeah, that's next. But we're so much similar with dentistry. Maybe that's next. We'll see.
Yeah. Well, I don't think there's that much follow-up for dentists. Some
Oh,
for
that's
some
true.
procedures, but for marketing companies, and I've been at this for so many years, I can tell you that timely communications are of paramount importance. Our account managers are not allowed to have more than 20 clients. Usually it's substantially less than that. For that very reason, they need to provide timely, high quality communications. It is a significant time load and a significant cognitive load. They have to spend the time and they have to set up a ton of reminders to make sure to get things done, communicate things on time. And when you're managing 15, 16, 18, with some incredibly productive account managers who work a lot of overtime, it would be like 20. Like when you do that, it's a lot of communications, like a lot
Yeah,
of communications. And yes,
makes sense.
we also have our own like management software that's managing our equivalent of cases. So all of those communications are there. Could they be automated and done in a very classy, very classy rather than robotic, very classy, very human-like communications? I bet they can be. Like if you follow
Yeah,
around our account managers for a month, you're going to know what they say, when they say it, how they say it, why they say it. I think there's a lot of automation to be done there as well. Right now, the load on our account managers is probably very similar as it is on case managers and law firms. And the businesses are not that different. It's just professional services.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
interesting. Maybe it is our next move.
Maybe,
We'll
maybe it
see.
is. And also think
I
about
like
marketing businesses, just like your business, just like SaaS business. It's all about client stickiness, right? So like our clients, they don't come in for a case, and the case doesn't end in 3, 6, 12, 18 months. They're with us for years and years and
Right.
years. So there's that story, like that history rather, that trails them. All of the communications are in the system already. So
Right.
if you have robust AI that knows how to do that machine learning of what was before, it can forecast what will happen in the future and learn how to communicate very effectively, thus saving the time, which could be translated into savings for the clients or into additional profitability for the business or ultimately both. So
Yeah, I
just a
love it.
thought, just a thought.
Yeah, it's next. That's
Yeah.
what's next.
Manny, this was a ton of fun. Thank you so much.
Hey, love what you do. Thanks for having me.
And that's a